Jane Fonda, the woman who defeated everything but paid far too much. They called her a sex symbol, a feminist icon, a Hollywood legend, a woman unafraid of age or power. Jane Fonda, a name that sounds like defiance. Defiance of time, of illness, of enemies, of death. But behind the headlines and the firebrand image, there has always been a fragile, tired, deeply scarred soul. And today, in her 80s, she's still fighting, not for an Oscar this time, but for her life. Jane was born into a dynasty. Her father was the great Henry Fonda. But growing up, she lived in his shadow, a shadow of fame, expectations, and grief. At just 12 years old, Jane's mother died by suicide. For years, Jane believed it was her fault. That guilt, that fear, that loneliness, they would never truly leave her. Her father was distant, cold. He didn't speak of love, only achievement. So Jane chased it. As a teen, a model. By the 60s, an Oscar nominee. By the 70s, a winner. But each award was really a cry. Dad, look, I'm worthy of love too. Fonda didn't just act, she lived in the storm. In the 1970s, she became the face of the anti-war movement. She spoke out against the Vietnam War and paid dearly. Branded Hanoi Jane, she was accused of treason. The U.S. Congress labeled her a threat. They tried to erase her, but she refused to break. Years later, she admitted, she was young, naive. She could have done things differently. But standing up for what's right, that's in her blood. She's been arrested for protesting more times than she can count. At 82, she was still marching for the planet, for women's rights, for life. Many see Jane as unbreakable. And in a way, she is. But even steel bends under enough pressure. In the 2010s, she was diagnosed with osteoarthritis. Surgeries on her hips and knees. Chronic back pain. Then came chemotherapy. Hair loss. Fatigue. In 2022, at 84, she announced she had lymphoma, blood cancer. But she didn't speak of it as a death sentence, she spoke of it as a challenge. This is treatable. And I'm not giving up. By then, she had already survived anorexia, depression, toxic relationships, alcoholism, and the emotional aftermath of plastic surgery she later regretted. And still she kept rising. Jane Fonda was married 3 times. And every time to a man she tried to make happy. But she kept losing herself in the process. Director Roger Vadim, the man behind Barbarella, made her a symbol of desire and broke her spirit. She later admitted she was taught to be convenient. Only after the divorce did she see how much fear she lived with. Next came politician Tom Hayden. He pushed her to sacrifice her career for activism. She gave birth, acted, protested, and slowly disappeared into his shadow. Then came media mogul Ted Turner. 10 years of wealth, charm, and emotional distance. He feared intimacy. She craved connection. At 60, she left him. And finally said the words she had never dared to say. Now, I belong to myself. Most would step away from the spotlight. Not Jane. At 70, she starred in Grace and Frankie, a global hit. Her character, witty, stylish, strong, a woman who doesn't back down. Just like Jane. She released a memoir, raw and honest. In it, she revealed the childhood sexual abuse, the eating disorders, the self-hatred. I lived for others, she wrote. Now I live for me. Today, she lives with lymphoma. She's still in treatment. Still speaking. Still standing. She gives speeches. Fights for climate justice. Inspires millions of women, not because she's perfect, but because she's real. Jane Fonda is more than an actress. She's a survivor of wars with the world and with herself. She fell 100 times and stood up 100 more. She proved. Age is not the enemy. Illness is not the end. Mistakes are not defeat. And when a soul burns bright, it keeps shining, even when the body grows tired.